What is up, you sexy YouTube mother lovers? Now, I don't know if anybody's told you this yet or not, but there's this country called Ukraine, and right now there's kind of a, well, there's a bit of a war. Yeah, that. Now, as one could expect from a war, we're seeing the use of a lot of small arms. We're also seeing a lot of javelins. But let's stick to firearms for now. Now, with this being Russia and Ukraine, you'd expect plenty of just your run-of-the-mill AK variants, which we are getting plenty of that. But we're also seeing a lot of weird stuff. Not just weird stuff, but some old stuff that you wouldn't expect to see in a modern conflict. So I picked out some photos and videos that I thought were interesting, so I figured we could look through them together and see what the hell is going on with the small arms in Ukraine right now. Now, before we get started, one thing I want to mention is that there will be no politics in this video to the best of my ability. I'm here to talk about guns. We like guns. Let's talk about the guns. Now, one of the most prominent standouts of this conflict, of course, we have to talk about the AK-12. The AK-12 is supposed to be Russia's new combat rifle, a modernized take on the AK, specifically the AK-74. The AK-12 is in 5.45 by 39, but they also have variants like the AK-15 and the traditional 7.62 by 39, and the AK-19 in 5.56. Although in Ukraine specifically, I've only seen AK-12 so far. Now, we've seen a lot of AK-12s turning up in Ukraine, especially ones that have been captured. It's not a weapon that I believe was used by Ukraine at all, so I think all the photos that we're seeing of Ukrainians with AK-12s would be captured rifles. And it's interesting how, just like the Crinks, like the AKS-74U, how it's a captured AK-12 is being used as a status symbol. It's the new hotness and kind of everybody wants to get their hands on it. Like this photo here, I believe I was told that this was Ukrainian Special Forces. Posing with a brand new Russian AK-12 from an owner I assume doesn't really need it anymore. Now I'm going to take a quick tangent because now we're starting to get into the weird stuff. Look at the other rifle that he's got slung over his chest. I know it's hard to see because it's camouflaged, but bear with me. What the fuck is that? It's clearly a bullpup of some sort, but it's not quite an AUG or a Tavor or anything like that. In fact, it appears to have a Plum AK-74 magazine sticking out of it. This is a rifle that's known as the, and forgive me if I butcher this, the Malyuk, also known as the Vulcan. It's a rifle that's relatively new, probably newer than the AK-12, and I think it's unique to Ukraine. It was, again, an attempt to kind of modernize a lot of the AKs, especially the ones that they just had laying around. So they built kind of a bullpup kit around it, kind of mimicking the functionality of something like an AUG or a Tavor or other bullpups like that, while also giving their AKs a way to mount optics and IR lasers and things like that. We're seeing the Malyuk a lot, especially in the hands of, again, Ukrainian Special Forces and other, I guess, SOF types. I know I'm not a fan of bullpups, especially AK bullpups. It's kind of a thing. I'll say as far as AK bullpup conversions go, this doesn't actually look that bad. Mikhail helped me. Although I will say they better have some sort of straight shove magwell because I have no fucking clue how you would rock and lock that 7.62 version of this, the magazine, out of place or into place. That doesn't seem like it clears. It does seem like the Ukrainians are actually taking advantage of a lot of the modularity that's afforded by this rifle. Pretty much all of them that I've seen have been decked out with some sort of optics, maybe some flashlight, IR laser for shooting with night vision, stuff like that. They're actually using their rail space. Now let's come back to the AK-12. All of these photos have one thing in common. There's nothing on these guns. I talked about this a little bit in the AK-12 video, but a lot of the ones that we're seeing coming out of Ukraine don't have any optics, no lasers, no IR stuff for night vision, no even grips for better recoil control. One of the points of the AK-12 program was to be able to have stuff like that, especially optics, like a sturdy dust cover for mounting, simple red dots and things. I think I've seen 2 photos out of dozens that actually had some sort of optic on it, and it was like old Soviet surplus stuff. If only Russia knew that if they needed red dots and accessories, they could have just gone to Euro Optic. I'm not sure if their red shipping applies to Russia, or I guess in this case, Ukraine. I'm joking, of course, but I do actually want to thank EuroOptic for sponsoring this video. They also apparently heard me and Scott in our last gun meme review joking about being sponsored by Vortex. Didn't get a Vortex sponsorship, but EuroOptic is stepping up and giving a 20% off to all new Vortex stuff on their website with the code AKGuy20. 20% off all the current non-closeout Vortex stuff. Not a bad deal. So go ahead over to EuroOptic, show them some love, and tell them I said hello. So now that we've covered 2 modern examples, let's go back in time a little bit. And by back in time, I mean about a week ago in Ukraine. Now, when I talked about photos of some of the Russian soldiers being kind of poorly equipped, I was referring to not having a modern optic on their rifle. Some guys didn't get a modern rifle. This poor Russian bastard got issued a Mosin Nagant. Just a reminder, it's 2022. The Mosin was designed in 1891. I would fucking desert I know people are going to say, oh, the Mosin's still a great bolt-action rifle. Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad gun. It was used in World War I, World War II, pretty much every small minor conflict in the Third World since then. The weapon system has killed more people than fucking pancreatic cancer. But still to be issued a Mosin Nagant as a modern First World foot soldier. Specifically a Mosin PU. It's a scoped variant of the Mosin Nagant. Also did a video on that a while back. It's kind of a neat gun. I can understand the pragmatic use. You have a lot of these still laying around. 7.62x54R, still widely used in the Russian military, especially with the PKMs and the SVDs and such. But holy shit, dude. If I'm being pushed into a foreign country going up against javelins and BTRs, you hand me a bolt-action rifle that is from World War II, and I'm gonna look for a fucking hidden camera. But alas, that's not the only World War II firearm we've seen out in the field. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you who I am calling Little Tachanka. This Ukrainian gentleman is fielding what is known as the DP-27, or what is known to Russian Badger as the dinner plate. Because look at it. It's a fucking dinner plate. This is a Russian light machine gun that was designed by Degtyarev himself. Chambered in 7.62x54R, that pan-fed magazine up top is actually a rotary magazine. Haven't done a video on one of these yet, but we're working on one. If you want to see us do a video with one of those, go ahead and subscribe, because your sub might be what throws me over the edge to actually making that video happen. It's in your hands now. This weapon saw service during World War II, was also fielded in the T-34s in the form of the DT. And it's all around just a very sexy machine gun. You could say that all the ladies are a fan of DP. It's a great machine gun. Now, this conflict in Ukraine, while tragic, has given us some crazy footage of just vast destruction and a lot of things that look straight out of the game Escape from Tarkov. But if there's one silver lining here, it finally appears that USEX and Bears are finally fighting for the same team. Okay, maybe I'm stretching a little far into the Tarkov LARP, but this photo is actually really cool. You've got a very Western setup here. This gentleman's rocking, of course, single NVG tube with an AR-15 that's pretty decked out. So to go along with his night vision, you can of course see on the top of his handguard there, he's got some sort of PEC system. This is for being able to aim the weapon while not having to look through an optic at night using the IR laser. All in all, very modern setup. And then we have the gentleman behind him, who I can't really see his gear, but he is running the AKS-74U, aka the Krinkov, aka the Crank, aka the Stinky Cranky. Specifically, one like this. This is a shortened version of the AK-74, known as the AKS-74U or the Crank, and it's just a very sexy firearm. This one, of course, is one that we built. It is full auto, and I love it a lot. These are fairly rare. You don't really see them a lot, which is kind of interesting that this guy would be carrying one. You do lose a lot of effectiveness, especially at longer ranges. With the barrel being shorter, you lose a lot of accuracy, stuff like that, especially if you're not running an optic. But this Chad in the back does not give a fuck. His life might be on the line, but it's fucking drip or drown. If you're gonna go out wearing sexy kit. Something I also noticed was the lack of Zenitco stuff from the Russian forces. Again, it seems like they're saving all of their good stuff for their operators and things, and whatever these poor dudes who were sent in, whatever they had is just what they had. I'm gonna try not to read too far into the ramifications of that theory. But I did see this photo pop up of an AK-103 series that was captured from Chechen forces. This is something kind of similar that I have as a setup. This is like an AK-103 clone that was an Arsenal SLR-107FR. Of course, with the Zenitco on it. This is the B-33 dust cover rail, which you could see this gentleman also had. I cannot for the life of me understand why the Chechen stuff is set up better than the Russians. Seriously, is this bothering anybody else? Because it's bothering me. Now for the next gun, of course, we had to talk about this photo. It's been sent to me a million times since it first hit the internet. We have a recently captured AS Val. Now, the AS Val, popularized by, video games and other pop culture, is a integrally suppressed 9x39 rifle that is used by Russian special forces. This photo is probably one of the first graphic images that really came out of this Ukraine conflict. Because of that, I think there's been a lot of controversy as to its authenticity. I've seen a lot of people trying to debunk this photo, but I don't know, that looks like the uncensored version of the photo is a little more compelling, because that is definitely a deceased combatant. Either way, as far as drop loot goes, an AS Val is not bad. Of course, if you'd like to learn more about the AS Val, we don't have a video on that, but we do have a video on the VSS Ventores. It's like the wooden stock, more traditional brother of the AS Val. Like an identical twin, but this one was homeschooled. Here we have some more captured weapons. From the bottom up, we have a PKM, of course, the Russian light machine gun. Actually, this may not be a PKM. I think this is a PKP. I think the delineating factor there is the handle up on top of the barrel, if you could see that, above where it has the can, the ammo can. Up above it, we have the SVD, or specifically the SVDS, 7.62 by 54R sniper slash DMR rifle, an AK-100 series rifle, most likely a 74, 3 captured AK-12s, again with jack shit on them, and 2 RPGs. Now, anti-vehicle, anti-air, anti-armor has been a huge part of this conflict. Enter the RPG-7. Is it a little outdated with modern reactive armor and javelins and things like that? Yeah, maybe. Would I like to be shot at with it? Fuck no. I haven't really seen too much use from these in the Ukrainian conflict just because there's so much, I guess, better anti-armor equipment out there in Ukrainian hands. But as this photo goes to show, they are definitely still being used. So here we have another photo of some captured war loot. So we have an AK-12, 74, a convertible AK-12, dust covered, kind of missing. Another AK by the look of the wood, possibly a 74. But up above it, there's something kind of funky. That is the GM-94 grenade launcher. It's a Russian heavy-duty grenade launcher that can launch anything from smokes to small thermobarics. I also did not know there was such a thing as a small thermobaric. I have never seen one of these in actual combat use, so it's kind of neat, the shit that pops up every now and then. It really has been crazy seeing one conflict where the very old stuff and the very new stuff, mixed with a little bit of weird stuff in between, are all mashed together against each other. Now, I probably don't have to tell you this, but war is pretty fucked up. It's pretty terrible, especially between two nations that have so much in common and are literally family in a lot of cases. Of course, thanks to the internet, we get a constant stream of updates and photos and videos from this conflict, especially if you know where to look. But it's because of that we're simultaneously getting more information, yet also more disinformation than ever before. Now, all that being said, it still doesn't take away from how damn interesting it is to see some of the photos of what is actually being fielded on both sides of this conflict. Especially if you're somebody like me who's always had a fascination with AK variants and just Soviet weaponry in general. So if you're a gun guy, or at least you're curious about what kind of weapons were being used out in the field, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you saw some exotic weaponry in the Ukrainian conflict that maybe I missed, please let me know down in the comments. If you'd like to see more, I guess, weapons of videos kind of in this style, go ahead and let me know as well. And if you're new here to the channel and I haven't quite earned you as a subscriber yet, please go check out our cursed gun images, gun meme reviews, and some of our range videos. As for my hashtag AKG notification squad, you guys know that I love you. All in all, I appreciate you guys for staying to the end, and as always, I'll see you sexy YouTube mother lovers in the next video. Thanks.
Fuel is my obsession to make the perfect weapon, like Rasputin's rise to the top.
What is up, you sexy YouTube mother lovers? I don't know if anybody's ever told... Fuck. What is up, you sexy YouTube mother lovers? Now, I don't know if anybody's ever told... Fuck. Not ever. Got a lot of photos and videos that I have seen from the Ukraine conflict about specifically different weapons that are popping up there. And, you know, I figured we'd talk about it and I'd share them with you together. Fuck. That will mean nothing. I picked out some photos and videos that I thought were interesting. I figured we could look through them. Fuck me. The AS Val, popularized by video games and other pop culture stuff, is a 9x39 integrally suppressed rifle used by Russian special forces. Fuck, so close.